touch on is that amazing 2D, 3D.
We just have to talk about
That's taking it back from me.
Yeah.
I love it, and I think that's a great touch. Can you explain a little bit why that is?
Yeah, the Square Enix guys, the guys who did Bravely Default, the ones working on this one, they really brought to life, like you can see here in the water that's going on right there, just like this kind of beautiful effects of what's going on. So it's almost like HD 2D, they called it.
Yeah.
It's like a tilt shift kind
Tilt
of
shift, almost like a pop-up book.
Yeah.
Almost like a pop-up book.
They have shadows too, like not even just, not just little
you can
circles.
see the yeah.
Actual
They're
shadows.
true shadows. You can see them running around. You can truly see their shadows going on that way. There's even other areas we'll show a lot of more detail on that. But right now we're jumping further. This is not the demo, so this is actually further in the game. We have several travelers. We have 4 of them here. We're using one of them. Her name's Ophelia. She's a cleric, and she has the ability to guide people to become her follower. So if you played the first demo, there was a dancer called, I just found her name. There's a dancer, and she basically had the ability to allure people to become her followers. Now this time you now have another person joining your merry band here. And how the game develops too is that you start learning all the history of these characters and going through that. But the idea is that you'll start customizing how you want that party to work and how you want to build it up and start discovering how you want to fight and defeat all the different enemies you're going through as you go through the game.
So the 8 playable characters, are 4 or 5 of them now represented in this group, or 1 is the leader and the rest are other?
4 represented here right now. You can see
Got it.
4. So right now we have the merchant, we have Tressa, who the merchant, we have Cyrus the scholar, Ophelia the cleric, and Ulrich the warrior is in our group. And then that 5th person you saw is the follower that Ophelia gathered. He's helping out. He's kind of just joining you for right now.
She's got 1. She can add 2.
It's just one.
She can have like 80 behind her. No, just the one guy. Well, that's good.
Just the one for right now. So yeah, and then going into combat. So right now you see all the 4. This is where it gets a little bit more. This is where it gets pretty in depth. But there's a lot going on here. Usually you get introduced in doses. But the idea here is that you have who your characters are on the right side.
Whoa.
Left side of the enemies, and you can see underneath each enemy those little icons.
Right.
That represents their vulnerabilities. Now, normally when you start playing, you don't. Those are all blank. So you have to kind of start figuring out what is going to be, how you're going to fight through them.
It's kind of like a muscle learning system. Essentially.
Yeah, you have to, by attacking them, you'll learn what those are. But one of the hero travelers has, which is the scholar. The scholar has the ability by a special power. Essentially, when you go into an area against new enemies, it'll reveal one of them for each enemy that's on there.
I have an interesting question. Most RPGs start you off with a weapon that's for that class. I see you switching weapons. What kind of mechanic is that?
So someone, depending on the hero, they can usually have they can have multiple weapons to use. It could be a dagger, a staff, a sword, the axe, and or a staff. They can start mixing and matching those up, depending on what their class are or what their secondary job class is as well. You can have a secondary job. So that's where those eight versions come into play. Yeah, really good effects, and you can see at the top that's the turn. So
Turn order
the turn order of what's going on.
And what's going on the left-hand side? That's just who's queued up still in this round?
Yeah, there's 2 people left. So each round, those are all the people who have their turn in a given round.
Got it.
And then when you do attack them, if you hit them based on their vulnerability, you actually can see that those stars right now. You break them, so they miss their turn.
Yeah, we did see a break earlier on.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that was a limit break or that was a break on the enemy there.
break on the
that
enemy.
does pick them off when they repopulate
off.
the turn order.
And then the other cool mechanic about this that's been from the guys who did Bravely Default is they brought something called the boost mechanic, where you can essentially defend, and by doing so, you then get you basically are storing up these boost points by giving up that turn. So if you decide to use your boost points, which right now we're using right here with the scholar skill, you can use up to 3 boost points plus, and then your attack itself to make magic more powerful, or your attack more powerful. Or for some travelers like Ulbrich, he has his ability. He has a special ability that lets him use his boost to actually defend himself. So against really hard enemies like a boss, he could try to use that kind of power to defend himself.
Now, does position matter in these fights?
It doesn't matter. No, they're all just kind of line up that way right there as they go forward.
I noticed you got a lot of space on that enemy side of the field. Are we going to see some huge boss battles?
There are some. We're probably going to have enough time to get to it in this one, but there is a cool boss battle for this that does start taking up a lot more of that screen and that real estate to show what's going on.
8 unique travelers.
Yes.
Each have their own story. So I can play this 8 different times and have
But they
a different...
intertwine.
Okay, all right,
intertwine.
great. That's what I'm
That's the cool thing about the demo. The demo that's coming out today will give you the ability to choose all 8. Any of the 8. It basically unlocks the first chapter. But you have a time limit. You can only spend about 3 hours in each one.
Oh.
I also heard that if you happen to be home and playing that 3-hour demo, that if you go to the Nintendo Switch home screen, it doesn't count against your 3 hours. So make sure to do that. No, I'm just saying, like, if you got to get up and walk away, bio break, go to the Nintendo home screen, my friends.
So when the game releases, what we're looking at is a time frame for the campaign, because that's huge when it comes to RPGs.
That's something I'm going to have to discover on their own. We're not giving that. We're not giving that part up because the game comes out July 13th, so it's not too far from now. But yeah, again, it's gonna be how each person wants to play the game, all the different stories, and everyone plays RPGs. So like, I have a habit of trying to discover everything I
me.
possibly
That's- yeah.
can.
I have
We're
to go
the-
around. I'm the guy that sits there and click in the corner.
That's why
Yes.
achievements were the greatest innovation of all time
so
for me.
evil.
I'll do anything for achievements.
Yes. But then even then from the demo, from the first demo, they even added some other stuff into this one as well. Like now the mini map can be seen more easily. You can run, which was, I'm not sure if you guys played the
Thank
first
you.
demo or not. But yes, that,
Running is always a
you can run
quality
that
of
one.
life
Right.
decision. Believe me, I'm so happy. We have a lot of passionate, Japanese RPG fans here who are going to immediately gravitate towards this game. Are there any mechanics in here that might appeal to other styles of gamers?
Ooh. That's a good question. No, I mean the art style is a big one for me. I mean, I play RPGs all the time. I play a lot of RPGs, so I mean, there's just the boost mechanic is a big one in there that like, since you strategize how you want to make your attacks go differently, because you might want to soar up and then choose not to use all your boost points. So there's that. To me, a lot of this makes this interesting is just the strategic depth that's involved and how you choose who your 4 travelers are going to be, how you build them up. There's even a secondary job option you can do. So as for instance, this one, Cyrus has the ability, as I mentioned, to kind of identify vulnerabilities each time you go. Now, if you choose another character to have as a secondary ability, they can get that ability too, but they have to actually use a turn to activate it. It's not automatic like it is for the merchant.
So this
Or
is
for
appealing
the scholar.
to tactical fans,
Right.
Yeah.
to MMO fans. There's a lot going on here that's going to be really appealing. When you talked about the 8 characters, and we are going to at times, right now we see 4 of them together. How are we going to switch between whose story we're telling? Is that something we have to choose when we first sit down for our play session?
When you first sit down, I thought chance you'll get experience in the demo. When you sit down, you get a chance to experience them. But how they all come together intertwined, you'll have to discover when the game comes out.
Of course.
That's
But then I guess what I'm asking more, and maybe you still can't
Yeah.
see this, when they are together, are you able to go from Tressa's perspective to Ophelia's perspective at will?
You'll have to wait.
Oh, girl. That honestly, it excites
Yeah.
me so much because the game mechanics are such a big part of storytelling in these games, and it's way more than just walking around hacking and slashing. I actually love right now we're
Right.
seeing
The
kind of
lantern.
the exploration,
Right.
the fog.
The fog is here. The lanterns are showing that. The shadows again. You were describing the shadows are
Right,
actually
right.
all dynamic based on where you're walking, who's in front with the lantern in their hand. That all matters how this plays out.
And are there hidden little areas that you can kind of find
You're gonna
sneaking around the
you're gonna
map,
have to
pushing
kind of
on
be.
stuff?
You have to always look around, like go backtracking sometimes to find another area that you might have not be able to get through for some
good.
reason. Finding those treasure chests, going again that whole exploration aspect.
A lot of things that people skip out on RPGs because it can be long-winded is dialogue. And dialogue is absolutely important in these. Is it important to talk to everybody? And is it voice acted? How much of it is voice acted?
Part of it is voice acted. You'll have to wait to see if all of it is voice acted, but a lot of it is. So there's a lot of discussion there. But there's a lot of text to read, but it's about understanding the town people because even when you go into the towns, you have what are called path actions.
Okay.
So we have the ability with the cleric to get followers, but another good example would be for the scholar has the ability to scrutinize someone to get more information out of them they might not otherwise get. Ulbrich could actually, in the original demo as well, he could challenge them and fight them for it. So there are reasons to interact in the towns as well, not just walk through it, get what you need, and leave. There are reasons to go through that, and the art design. I mean, each town
absolutely.
is really different what they show.
I think that's really smart because a lot of classic RPGs, because those have been like the big hit this year, you're actually hitting on that note too, because having different characters talk to different people and really just having a point, it's really smart.
Yeah, and your reputation can matter. There's all these things that get built into the whole thing as well.
Yeah, you talked about taking feedback from the community since the last demo into this one. What has been the biggest change that you've made based on feedback?
Oof. Yeah, I mentioned the 2 earlier. Was the
Yeah.
the ability one for the running. They're more quality
Yeah,
of life
quality
things
of life
going
stuff.
in.
Anything like related to narrative, related to character.
That's more a question for the
cuisine.
dev team than
Got
me.
it.
I mean, and we're not going to the story, so I mean, they hadn't revealed so much. So I'm sure they just made different tweaks about how people are playing the game, what was maybe been things they can improve upon in that realm. So I kind of figure what best be done.
And tell me a little bit about the variety of enemies that we're going to be facing. Are they
gosh,
based?
there's a lot.
Well, is it divided by perhaps elemental because a lot of our spells and stuff are going to
Right.
depend on what they are, or is it more lore based that we're going to see them presenting?
Both. It could be a mix of
to the
everything. Yeah, I mean,
environment.
it's a whole new IP from these guys from Square Enix. So just seeing what they're going to come up with, and you're right. Some of the environments too, like this environment here, you kind of see these little tree-looking like creatures here, which because we're in the Mirkwood Forest. So yeah, there are these things building up in behind that as well.
Is there any exploration and significance to world map? Like sometimes you have like secret items on a world map. Is
Do
exploration?
I run all the way to the northeast
Yeah.
over
Corner
the
to see what you
water?
can find.
That's me.
Hide something up there for me.
That you'll have to wait for the full game to see how far you can really explore in that one. A lot of it's just getting that depth of combat we've been showing here so far, and just showing all the different skills, and then even calling on your followers, or even like for instance, the merchant here actually has the ability to like spend money to call upon someone to fight
wow.
for them. So it kind of goes back and forth in that way.
There's a lot to explore in this game. You're giving us 3 very generous hours right now available
Yes,
for free
yes.
on the Nintendo eShop. When's
Which
the whole
saves
game
over.
come out available?
The eShop demo comes out later today, and the full game comes out July 13th.
Fantastic.
So not less than a month away.
Well, I was sad about E3 ending, but I'm a little